I'm Keithana Kearney. You are watching live or you're watching the replay. Give me a hashtag replay if that is you. Today, we're going to be talking about all of the difficulty that coaches face when they're like, I know I'm charging too little, or I want to charge more, but I am afraid. There's all of this fear bubbling up. And I will tell you right now, before we get into any of the specifics, there is no one size fits all pricing structure. There is no formula for this. What we're going to do today in this training is connect you to your truth and your specific price. So let's play. So my entire mission in life is to learn how to trust myself more. And it's to learn to be more trustworthy in everything that I do. Trustworthy to myself, trustworthy to the people that I want to work with. And in order for that to work, I have to be fully in alignment with my truth, which is why, unlike a lot of other gurus out there, I'm not going to tell you that you have to charge X or you should be charging Y because everybody else is doing it. That kind of advice never really did anything for me, and maybe it isn't really doing anything for you. I think pricing is as custom as a fingerprint. Like, it is really deeply customized, and that's how we treat it in our program. So we'll start off with like a ballpark number sometimes when we do an epiphany session or when we're talking to somebody and evaluating whether they can be our client. But then once they're in the program, we take them through this very specific process so that they can figure out what the pricing needs to be for it to feel good to them. So before we get into the specifics, I have a question for you. And this is the foundation upon which we're going to build the rest of this training. So please play and put your answers in the comments. So if you're watching live, give me a big hashtag live. And then here's the question that I have for you. When you think about raising your rates, what comes up in your body? What is the sensation that comes up in your body, right? Whether it's a physical sensation, tightness, burning, your shoulders go all up, your neck gets all crinkly. Like, just do a body scan and see what are the physical sensations and what are the emotions. Do you feel fear? Do you feel anger? Do you want to vomit? Like, what is going on in your body? Hey, who's there live finally? Woohoo! Exactly. That kind of advice just produces objections in me and our clients. It's exactly right. So what we want to do is check in with your truth, right? So now we're doing a little body scan because one of the best tools that you can use to get in touch with your truth and feel in alignment with yourself is, of course, your body. So when you're thinking, see, there you go, nervousness, fear, doubt, that's great. Thank you for playing. Thank you for playing along, because this is going to be of so much more use to you because you're willing to be vulnerable and share this. So I love that. Okay. So you're noticing Mignon's life. Hello. So if you're feeling guts tightening, abs flexing, so you have a fight or flight response that's developing in you. Now, what tends to happen here is that your body is going to fight you. And I'm going to talk you through how you can relax your body and get it to come on board with you. And when I say body, your body is actually a really great tool for you to tap into your subconscious, right? So your subconscious and your body, that's your limbic system. They're very, very closely related. So often if your subconscious is not really in accordance or in agreement with your conscious goals, you will find that your body will tell you, your body will talk to you. I have to work harder to charge more. Even the result speaks volume because I have weakness in my body. So that's a faint response. So there's fight. Everybody's familiar with the top three that get the most airtime, right? It's fight, flight, or faint. Okay, so there's you fight, right, where you get angry and you're like, rah, I'm gonna bully you into like getting my pricing. There's fight, fright, right? This is the fear that we talked about, the nervousness, the doubt, that's all of this. And then the faint is the weakness in the body. This is where all your energy drains out and your body's like, no. Let's just become small. Let's just kind of like pretend we're not even here. Let's not, right? And that's kind of what we're going to work through. So we're going to work through that today. So that's really fun. And the first way that we're going to work through it is we're going to examine it. We're going to examine your imposter syndrome, because typically what tends to happen is that when you're raising your rates, you're basically kind of committing to showing up more. not necessarily more hours. I just want to be clear about that, although your subconscious probably hasn't made this distinction yet. It's not necessarily about more hours or more work. It's just about being more energetically committed to the work, period, right? That transcends any individual client, that transcends your specific program, that transcends. It's basically where you're committing to the mission, the purpose, the work. And that can be really, really scary, because it's like any kind of commitment. It makes you really vulnerable, because you're saying, I really love you and I don't know if you're going to love me back long term. That's hard. It's biologically difficult. So what tends to happen is a lot of imposter syndrome will come up. So then it's just like, oh, it's like, now if I ask for more money, and I'm scared to ask for more money, it's a reflection of your insecurity. Like or you might have resistance around your money, or around receiving money. How many of you know that that you have money stories that might need a little tweaking, where you're like, if I were to have more money, then I feel, that I'm worried that I will turn into XXX, whatever that is. So I have a journaling cue for you. You ready? Who's got pencils? Say me in the comments. Tell me if you got your pencil handy. All right. So here's what I want you to do. Does everybody know kind of what they want to charge? It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be an exact number. Just give me a ballpark. Choose a round number. $2,000, $3,500, $5,000, $10,000. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Awesome. Jewel has her pencil handy. Awesome. Yay. Okay, let's do it. So here's the prompt. If I were to charge, and then write down your number, I fear that. I don't always see everybody's name, but I see someone who put in the emoji, the pencil emoji. That's awesome. The handwriting emoji, I should say. Mignon says 5,000. Awesome. So Mignon, this is how you would do it. If I were to charge 5,000, I fear that, and then just take a minute and write out the first 2 or 3 things that come to your mind. Just do it. Don't judge. Don't worry about it. If you go blank, no big deal. Whatever comes out, just write it. Doesn't matter. Doesn't have to be profound. Doesn't even have to be true. Doesn't matter. Just write it. If I were to charge whatever your number is, I fear that. Now, who wants to share what came up for them? Now, ideally, you want to be doing this exercise. You would, if you're watching the replay, pause the replay, and then just take 10 minutes and just brain dump for 10 minutes. I do this all the time. This is part of our clarificator process. I've just taken step 3, and we're just doing step 3 here, okay? I fear that they will say no. Fear of rejection, right? I fear that they will say no. When you hear that no, it's like, oh, it confirms something about you. There's a belief about yourself that you have, that no, when you receive it, you're like, oh, I knew it. I knew this thing about me. I'm not worthy. I'm not lovable. I'm not good enough. All of those feelings, this is what happens, right? That no confirms that fear. And that's why it feels so heavy and it feels so devastating. And that's what you want to, we're going to start to separate that. So somebody says, I fear that people won't pay. I'll lose clients and I'm out of business. So that's a very common fear. So there you go. Tamika says, I will be out of business, right? They will not sign up. So all galloping fear of rejection here. So here's what we're going to do. The good thing is your subconscious mind has now given you clarity. I want you to notice as you feel into this whole like, someone saying no, they won't sign up, my business goes down the tubes, I'm bankrupt, whatever that looks like for you, right? If you feel that in your body, what is the sensation? Notice it, note it down, write it down. Tightness in your stomach, nervousness, heartburn, your legs get all watery. What is that? Whatever that feels like to you, however it feels, just write it down. Just notice it. I'm going to tell you what to do with that after. Jewel says, I fear that because I have never done it before, that I don't have the software ready to take a credit card. Tech fear. See, Jewel, not having the software ready is the easiest fix in the world. I remember at one point I was at a speaking engagement. This is very, very early on. And and I had no software. I had not prepared for this because I wasn't expecting to have clients sign up with me. because it was a paid speaking engagement, and people were following me around with their credit card details on like slips of paper. And they were like, can you please like take my credit card? Like, I'm trying to pay you, woman. Like, and I literally took photos of those credit card details and like put them into my laptop and process them later. And that can work too. I mean, obviously, I'm not suggesting that that's the best way to do it. I'm just saying that that is the easiest thing in the world to figure out. The real issue you have, Joel, is I have never done it before. So that's what you have to work on. That is your problem to solve at this moment in time. Is you have to have some confidence that you feel good about taking somebody's money and saying, I'm here with you. I'm going to be your partner in this journey, right? It has to feel good to you, because if it feels good to you, it's going to feel good to them. Does that make sense? Amazing. There you go. I will avoid wanting to sell. See, it's exactly that. All right. So the first things first, we're going to face your imposter syndrome head on, right? I've given you a tool to figure out exactly what your imposter syndrome, what are the specifics that that feeling is trying to tell you? How does it show up in your body? You've documented all of that. Now we're going to move on to step 2. You're going to use pricing that feels right. And what I mean by this is that once you're clear about your objections, it's time to figure out, are these really objective? Do these even make sense, right? Because fear of rejection is not really a money objection. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, fear of rejection, you could be rejected for $5, you could be rejected for $50,000, and everything in between. That it's not really specific to a particular price point. But how many of you realize that until just this second? Right? Our subconscious mind is very black and white, very absolute. It thinks like a child. So it's kind of like, oh, this is the number I want to charge. Well, not going to get anything. So therefore, this number is wrong. It just assumes that the number is the problem. The number is not the problem. So let's talk about what is. Okay. The best way to move through your resistance, and I have my notes. I have like so many notes because this is a very in-depth training that I want to share with you today. So the best way to move through your resistance is by shifting the focus away from yourself and towards your clients. And I'll tell you, and most people, when they hear that, they're like, I know, but then I really can't charge any money because they're all broke, or I really need to help them. And they're so, they're struggling and I want to help them. And, I'd be a complete douche canoe if I was just trying to get rich off other people's pain. How many of you have told yourself these stories? Right? Because obviously, when somebody is in pain and somebody is struggling, the best thing to do is to also be in pain and struggling, right? By being broke, so that you can't take care of yourself, and therefore your ability to take care of somebody else is also compromised. But your subconscious doesn't figure that out, right? So you end up just doing it and then feeling really crap about yourself, because then that confirms that story about yourself that you feel. So here's what we're going to do instead. We're going to take the focus off of you, because it shouldn't be on you. This is not about you. We're also going to shift the focus slightly away from the customer, from the client, and we're going to focus on the problem. So let me explain what I mean by that. What I want you to do is I want you to think about all the different ways that having the problem that you solve costs your client. So tell me in the chat, tell me, what is the problem that you solve? Type it out. Like, I'm a relationship coach. Just keep it really simple. I don't need you to make it flowery or special. This is not the time for that. We'll get to that. But not in this training. Today, we just have to keep it simple. I mean, your relationship, I help people build a business. I help people fall in love. I help people attract the perfect partner. I help people manifest abundance. What is the problem that you solve? I'm a food coach. There you go. I help people, lose weight, improve their health, improve their marriage, whatever the deal is. So put that under that. Childhood trauma. There you go. So now let's take childhood trauma. What does having childhood trauma cost your client in terms of just finances? So let's just look at category by category. What does it cost in terms of finances? What is it costing them when they have a whole bunch of childhood trauma? They're reactive in work situations, most likely. They may also not take certain risks because they're scared that something bad will happen to them, because they have a pattern that keeps recurring and pulling the rug out from under their feet when they least expect it. They may be very, very sort of hot and cold, right? And people with trauma can be really Jekyll and Hyde sometimes in situations. That's going to cost them in their work relationships, which is, of course, going to affect how their money flows, right? Because people are like, what the hell? Sometimes they're great. Sometimes they're really not. I don't know if I want to work with this person. That's financial. So just to give you a sense, let's take weight loss, right? If you take weight loss, think about how it affects their relationships when somebody does not feel good in their body. It doesn't matter what they weigh. It doesn't matter that. But if they don't feel good in their body, if they feel heavy, if they feel unwell, if they feel unfit, they're not going to feel like they can keep up with their workload. They're not going to feel like they're going to run after opportunity and big risk, whether that's risk at work, whether that's risk in relationships. How do they feel when they're undressing in front of a new partner? Like, that's hard enough for most people, right? If you're really feeling not good in your body, that's infinitely harder. So now you have not just weight problems, you have relationship problems too. Do you see how that works? So think about money, think about how it's costing them in their relationships, their close relationships, their love relationships, their more diffuse relationships like their community, their friendships, that sort of thing. Think about how it costs them in their work. So there's obviously the financial aspect of work, but think about, like, are they furthering their work? Are they living their purpose when they have whatever the problem is that you solve going on for them? Think about that. How does it affect their parenting? Right? That's a big deal. I know, like, if I'm not feeling good in myself, I am not the best mom ever. That is for sure. I've definitely gone through periods like that. It's not fun. It's not happy wife, happy life, right? And that if wife's not happy, it's really not a good show. So think about all of the different ways that it affects your clients. Just take a minute. How many of you are experiencing an aha right now? Tell me. Anybody? So Own Your Fitness says losing belly fat, weight loss, lack of feeling good with their body, right? Business coach, mindset mentor to help people get out of their own way. So if people are in their own way, think about all of the different ways that that shows up and what it costs them. See, I see ahas happening. Now feel into your body. If I were to charge X, how does it feel in your body? Does it feel different? That same number, has the energy shifted for you? It costs them way more than I charge them. Exactly. Sometimes just maintaining the problem can be very costly. Like in the case of weight loss, right? When somebody's weight goes up and down a lot, they have all these different sizes of clothes that they accumulate. They don't feel good in any of them, which sucks because they have all of these expenses, but none of the satisfaction. I remember I had a friend who had to have, like, she had to basically live in a slightly bigger place than she actually needed because she needed so much room for all the different sizes of clothes that she owned, because she couldn't get rid of any of them because didn't feel safe getting rid of any of them. And so then it was like this freaking huge wardrobe. And I was like, oh my God, like, and it looked like many different women lived there because they were all these different sizes. See, such a huge aha. Do you feel viscerally different? Does anybody not feel viscerally different? Because that would be interesting. Tamika says, I feel like what I'm charging now is way too low. See, such an aha moment. There you go. Because now you understand what the problem that you solve actually is. It's not just that little bit of problem. It is all the different ways that the problem connects up to all of the other aspects of their lives. Now it doesn't feel so unfair for you to charge money that will solve a lot of your problems in exchange for solving a lot of their problems. It feels like an equal exchange, right? So now they're not in a position to reject you. You're both equal partners in this. You're co-creators in this. And you're going to come to the table and you're going to say, I really want to help you because I understand what this is costing you. And you probably don't even realize because you've never really added it all up and put it in one bucket. All of these problems have been filed under different departments, right? I have relationship problems. I have work problems. I have these problems. I have those problems. You've never really put them all together and be like, oh my God, all of these problems have one single root. And then I'm saying, I'm going to help you solve that root. I'm going to fix this at the root so that you don't have to spend all this different money in all of these different departments fixing this problem 17 different ways. We're going to fix this problem one time and all of the other problems are also going to shrink. Does that make sense? Does that feel different in your body? Yeah, awesome, cool. Let's move on. So I wanted to share a story from one of our clients who had this epiphany while she was in our program. So Adrienne, who is fabulous, really was struggling. She was like way undercharging to the point where the amount of revenue that she was bringing in made her business more like a hobby than a business. So if you're in that place, really no shame, no blame. Everybody starts somewhere. And that's where Adrienne was. She's freaking brilliant at what she does. So what she helps people, she helps women um, stop having debilitating migraines. She's a long-term migraine sufferer that has managed to completely cure herself. And now she has all these incredible tools that aren't restrictive diets and aren't crazy drugs and aren't like just like these weird life restrictive situations where you're like, oh, great. So I don't have migraines, but I also have no freedom and I don't feel good in my body, right? So she helps people do that. And before working with us, she had all of this like massive galloping fear of judgment. So if any of you have that, where you're like, if I charge this, what will people say? So Adrienne also came from a yoga background. So if any of you can relate to that, I know that the people who come from the yoga world, especially, there's so much judgment around capitalism. There's so much judgment around financial abundance. There's all of these stories and associations that are made that are erroneous. And you often take them on subconsciously without realizing it, right? So what ended up happening here is that she had taken on a lot of those stories and then she had galloping fear of judgment. During the program, look at that. She says, I really wanted to work with this client after reading her app. I said the prayer that David, our mindset coach, shared. I tensed and released my muscles, modified my script with some new lines that Geeta shared. On Tuesday, I'm offering 6-month payment plans, which 2/3 of her clients are taking advantage of. So she had 18 calls booked, and then she was sharing that she made, her third sale. So just you understand, like, this is a brand new program that we helped her design. She had the existing expertise. She had proven results. She was way undercharging for them, and she had positioned herself as a yoga teacher, which was not at all the problem that she solved, right? It was like what she did. And it was a teeny part of what she did. Here's what happened. During our program, she had her worst nightmare come true. She put out a post on social about how she had followed this. There's this very well-known, it was not well-known to me because I'm not a migraine sufferer, knock on wood, but it's apparently was very well-known in the migraine community. There's a guru out there who has a particular diet-based protocol. And Adrienne shared how she had tried that and really given it a good go, and it just did not help her. And all of the other things that happened as a result of her trying it that just didn't work for her. And she was attacked by followers of this other guru, and she was just shamed for dissing this person, although she never dissed them. She was just sharing her experience, which is totally valid, and so on and so forth. And it was amazing because I was like, yes, bring it to us. Like, let's work through everything that's coming up. So that's what we did. She came in, David worked with her. David and Steve are our mindset coaches. So we worked deeply with her to release all of the shame that was happening, all of the fear of judgment. And then she was just like, oh, and then it completely changed her experience of this supposedly worst case scenario happening while it was happening. And then she started to show up more. So it's exactly that, right? She was like, no, I want to tell the story. I'm not like, please don't misunderstand. I'm not dissing. So if this is working for you, great, keep doing it. But for some people like me, when that doesn't work, it feels like nothing will ever work. And I have something that can work. And that's what I want to talk about. And so now she was free to just be really excited in public about her work. And we'll talk about showing and not telling, because that's where we're going to go next. But that's what she was then able to do. And all of a sudden, just calls were being booked left, right, and center. She literally had like 18 calls booked a particular week. So that's how that works. So tell me if this makes sense to you, right? This is why working through your subconscious belief systems is such a big deal. And you can't really do deeply aligned magnetic messaging without first dealing with like, what's going on under the hood? What's going on in my body? Where am I not in alignment? And where does my pricing feel off? And by the way, if you noticed on the screenshot that Pat just shared of Adrienne's win, she's offering 6-month pricing, 6-month payment plans, which, by the way, we don't do. We don't even do that in our business. Most of our clients don't. But here's the deal. I told you, pricing is as custom as a fingerprint, right? There is no shame and no blame. Here's what we knew. Adrienne had a big jump to make to be able to charge the money that her program, it is honestly a steal, even at the way it's priced right now, but it is a big jump from where it used to be. And it is also a completely new program. Like, there's so much great support and material in it. but her central nervous system would have fritzed out, and it would have been so stressful for her to try and be like, I'm going to charge 8,000 or 5,000 or whatever it is because Geeta says so, or because everybody else tells me to, or because everybody, all my peers in the program are doing it, or whatever the deal is, right? That was not necessary. She's just like, you know what? I'm making an up level, and I'm going to accept that this is the up level that I'm ready for right now. And because her belief system is that her clients needed payment plans, she just keeps attracting clients that need those longer term payment plans, and they're super happy to have found each other. As her belief and her confidence in her program and her pricing grows, she's going to believe that it totally makes sense for people to pay her all up front, and she's going to attract more of those. Right now she has a nice mix of the two. Does that make sense? So it really is custom to each individual, and different people are going to choose different paths, and none of them are wrong. All of them are right. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, cool. Let's move on to the next point, which is to show and don't tell that you have the goods. What I mean by this is demonstrate your ability to deliver results, right? You have to demonstrate that you have a process that you're totally comfortable with that makes sense to your users. So lay it out for them. It's like, if we were to work together, we're going to do steps 1, and we're going to do steps. So for example, when we work with clients, if we were to work together developing your program, the first thing we would do is get crystal clear on what are your blocks, like what's going on, what are some of the things that you're hiding in your body, or that your body's hiding from you. Who is your ideal client? Because you are a blueprint for that client. So we're going to use you as a blueprint. In doing this, you're going to learn yourself a little bit better, which is always extremely freeing. You're going to learn to accept yourself a little bit better. We're going to design this. We're going to mine all your deepest fears, your grief, your anger, all the disappointments and difficulties that you've had along the way. We're going to use that in your messaging. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to design your curriculum for somebody who's wired like you. And we're going to tweak it and make sure that it's distilled and it's not too clunky, because now that you're charging more, you want to throw everything in the kitchen sink into it, right? And then we're going to teach you how to sell it. We're going to teach you how to talk about it. We're going to teach you how to ask for the sale in a way that feels good to you. We're going to teach you how to deal with all of the objections that come up, yours and theirs. And then we're going to teach you how to tap into larger audiences using press. You see how I did that? I've demonstrated. I've explained the process, short, not all the details, but I've explained the process. And I just told you the story of Adrian. So I've demonstrated what a client's results look like by telling you some of the details along the way, so that you can put yourself in that person's shoes and understand, oh, that makes so much sense. I see how that worked. And then you can choose, or it doesn't make sense to you, and that's fine. And then you're not our people, right? If it doesn't resonate, then that's perfect. My messaging is doing its job. If this whole process sounds like, oh, gross, woo, and you're going too deep, and I don't want, people talking to my subconscious, like, if that freaks you out, we're totally not the right fit. So that's great. My messaging is doing its job. Does that make sense? So show, don't tell. Point number 4, give them a taste of your coaching process in your sales process. Your sales process should be the same as your coaching process. Because if you're not able to distill and clear things for your people, where you're like, hey, for example, right, a taste of this is what we just talked about. Look at all the different ways that your problem is showing up in your life that you probably have never connected to each other before. This is a piece of coaching. You have them answer questions about all of these, and we teach you how to do this in the program. You have them answer all these questions about all these different ways that the problem is showing up. And then you distill it, and I call it crispening, which is not a word in English, but I just use it, right? And you crispen it, and you say, here, so what you've just told me is this. So you're showing them that you really get it, and you're helping them see it in a whole new way. If that ain't coaching, I don't know what is, right? And then when it resonates, you're like, okay, now we'll move to the next thing, right? So you're helping them get a taste for what it's like to work with you. You're helping, and honestly, this works even if you're not the person. Like, I don't do any of our epiphany sessions anymore. It's very rare that I'll hop on the phone. I'll do it once in a while, but it's rare. My team still does it this way because this is our process. This can be processized beyond you. And this is so exciting for me because this creates opportunity for others, which is one of my absolute core reasons for starting a business, is to create opportunity beyond myself, right? And this is what's going to create legacy. This is what's going to allow the work to live past my own lifespan. So know how to do this so that you can pass it on. And by passing it on, you're creating opportunity for others and you're creating freedom for yourself. So that's one thing. And then the number 5, where we get into some really deep tactical stuff, is yeah, there you go. Position the investment. So a lot of people have no idea how to do this. Okay. And this is, I'm giving you some real nuggets from our deep sales training that's in our program. I've never shared this publicly before. So take notes. Okay. So when you get to, I mean, we have a whole process of discovery that you're going to take your client through. And it really is discovery. Like, you're discovering them, they're discovering themselves using your, view and your lens. So they're going to look at the problem. They're discovering their problem in a whole new way, right? Once they've understood what the problem is and what it's actually costing them and all the different aspects and elements of it, now you're going to get to the end where you're like, okay, you know what? Based on everything you've told me, I am 100% sure I can help you. Because I mean, at least in our business and in all of our clients' businesses, when we work with people, we always tell them, you do not make an offer to somebody unless you're 100% sure you can help them. Sometimes we know that the person is an ideal client. It's just not the right time yet. We won't offer them in that moment. We'll give them free resources. We'll direct them to our Facebook group or our YouTube channel and say, go watch some free trainings, implement them, move yourself along the continuum. When you're ready, then we'll offer, right? But not yet, because it's not time. You're perfect, just not yet, right? But if that person is in fact ready, then here's how you can position the offer. Because you have to remember, people only remember what they've heard in the last maybe 30 seconds tops, maybe 45, if they have a really good
Not for
attention
me.
span.
I think it's 5 seconds.
That's like 10, yeah. I was going to be generous. Unless it involves pinball, in which case he has a really deep attention span. But anyway, but when you're positioning the offer, you're going to position it. What you're going to do is you're going to crispen the entire transformation that you have spent 45 minutes discussing, and you're going to put it all in one place so that they understand what the offer actually is. Because otherwise they're just going to hear the money and they're going to freak out. Here's how you're going to do it. You're going to say, what we're going to do is, so basically what we're talking about is taking you from being in pain, from being lonely, from hiding in your body, from looking in the mirror and feeling really deeply disappointed or disgusted, from blah, 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 like the specific pains that they have talked to you about, to being on the other side of this, feeling really confident, wanting to get out there, wanting to be seen, feeling completely worthy of being loved and of growth and of all the abundance that is coming to you. And the full investment for everything that we've talked about is, and then you present your price. You see, now they're seeing what the actual, it's a crisp view into, this is what we're going to accomplish. This is the road that's going to get us there. The program is the road that's going to get us there. And the investment is for this whole transformation to occur. They're not buying the program, they're buying the transformation. And the transformation supersedes all the modules and videos and support and calls and blah, 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 all that crap in the program. And it's not just the result either. The transformation includes the journey, if that makes any sense. And when you position it that way, now it makes sense. Now the investment is in line with the transformation. Does this help? Tell me if this makes sense. How many of you were doing it this way before you just heard this? Not the people who are in the program, because obviously we teach you this in deep detail in the program. But this is what you're going to do, because when you're positioning the offer as the transformation, right? The price tag for the transformation is X, then it's a very different offer. It's a very different ask. It will often, if you do it right, especially if your pricing is on point, it's going to feel more like a give than an ask, right? And then this is going to it's going to make sense to them. It's going to make sense to you. It's going to be friction free. And sometimes, and then I have a whole, and if people, that's awesome. And if people have an objection, be like, oh, wow, that's a lot more money than I was expecting. I have a whole other training on how we handle the money objection and all of that other good stuff. So, there is more to this process than just this. But today we were talking about how to invite people to invest the big bucks. And I think that from the top to the bottom, we now have the entire process where you're going to be able to check in with your truth so that you can price in a way that is in alignment with you, in alignment with the problem and the transformation that you actually, the problem that you solve and the transformation that you create, and that makes sense to your clients. Awesome. All right. I love it. So Tamika says, I've never heard or tried it. I'm going to try it. Love it. Well, this brings me to the end of this training today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please share this with somebody who can use it, because gosh knows there's a lot of coaches who are amazing at the coaching aspect of their business, but are kind of sucking at the business piece. I know, because we work with a lot of them. So if that is you, use the link on your screen, reach out, talk to our team. If we can help you, we'll let you know. If you're too early, we'll let you know. And if you're just right, we'll make you an offer and we'll help you take your business to the next level. All right, I'll see you next Thursday. Bye.